The statistics show, however, that the vast majority, something like 95% of all motorcycle crash injuries are caused by the negligence of other vehicle operators.
How do motorcycle accident lawyers win for their clients, and what do you need to know if you're looking for an attorney after a wreck? We're going to talk to attorney Claude Wyle about that on today's Ask the Lawyer. Claude, thanks for joining us.
Molly, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you.
Nice to see you too. So first of all, as a motorcycle accident personal injury attorney in San Francisco, can you share your experience and success rate in helping bikers who have been injured file claims against insurance companies and also pursue lawsuits for serious personal injury?
Well, our success rate at Choulos Choulos Wyle for motorcyclists is bumping up around 97.5%. We rarely lose a motorcycle case. As a matter of fact, the lawyers on the other side of these cases often tell us that we have an advantage over them because we're so tuned in to motorcycle cases that we kind of know the dynamics of motorcycle crashes better than anybody else who's up against us.
What specific legal challenges do motorcycle accident survivors face when seeking compensation, and how do you navigate those challenges to get the best possible outcome for your clients?
Well, as lifelong motorcycle riders, my partner George Choulos and I have made it our life study to research motorcycle dynamics, motorcycle riding dynamics, collision dynamics, crash dynamics, racing dynamics, current technology. We sponsor a motorcycle race team. We lecture to other lawyers all across the country on how to handle motorcycle cases. We're the lawyers that other personal injury lawyers turn to when they need help on a motorcycle case. So we try to use all this knowledge and our lifelong passion for riding ourselves and turn that into an advantage for our motorcycle crash survivors.
And I can imagine that really gives you a leg up. Can you talk about how you approach these cases, how you gather evidence and really build the strongest case for your clients?
Well, one of the challenges, to go back to the last question, one of the main challenges in any motorcycle case is that there is usually a high degree of prejudice against the motorcycle rider. Most people think that motorcycle crashes are happening just because motorcyclists speed all over the place and it's always their fault. The statistics show, however, that the vast majority, something like 95% of all motorcycle crash injuries are caused by the negligence of other vehicle operators. So it's not the motorcyclist's fault. And so it's our job and our challenge to express what kind of choices our motorcyclists had immediately before the crash and what they could have done, what they should have done. And we approach it in the way that we show that our motorcyclists made the right choices and the other driver or vehicle operator made the wrong choices. And it was those choices that caused this collision and caused our client's injury. So the challenge is just innate prejudice. There's another challenge in that everybody thinks a motorcyclist, because they're more prone to injury if there is a crash, needs to be more careful than anybody else on the road. And that's not the law. The law is that they have to be reasonable in comparison to other people operating vehicles and reasonable in other people in terms of how they would compare to other motorcyclists. You don't put a higher standard above the reasonable person. You don't put that on a person just because they're riding a motorcycle. So we've got to get that front and center in every one of our cases. And we know the motorcycle laws. We know motorcycle safety. We know how this motorcyclist should have maintained their bike. We know all this stuff backward and forward because we've been doing it our whole lives. I gave up riding on the track a couple of years ago, but my partner, George, still had a track day last week. And when I say we understand dynamics, I mean, we ride, we do know, and we can help. We strive to have our clients be ahead in all circumstances because they already start behind in what people think about motorcyclists. So it's our job to get that frame of mind turned around and make it pro biker as opposed to anti biker.
Yeah, you talk about that stigma that you're kind of up against when it comes to these cases. So, how do you approach gathering evidence to build the strongest cases for your clients? Do you use any unique strategies?
Well, I don't think it should be unique, but when you're investigating a motorcycle crash, it's different. The dynamics of a crash are different. A bike falls. A bike doesn't just slide around, it falls down. So, one of the most important aspects of preparing a motorcycle crash case is gathering up the evidence and preserving the evidence. You've got to know what evidence you're looking for. For instance, the skid the tire friction marks on a motorcycle, whereas most car speeds are calculated by how long the skid is, that's not really accurate for a motorcycle. When a motorcyclist grabs the front brake, the back wheel comes up a little bit. It may not come off the ground, but it gets lighter. And so the back wheel skid can be much longer than you would anticipate. And even police who are supposed to know how to calculate these things, they can totally miscalculate how fast the motorcyclist was going. So that's one of the things we do to show that the motorcyclist was not going as fast as maybe the police officer says they were. The next thing you look for gouges and scrape marks. When a motorcycle goes down, it tips over and the pegs or other metal parts or the handlebars or the grips, something will be rubbing along the pavement and it will leave a mark. You want to get somebody out to investigate the collision as soon as possible because there will be marks that the police have not looked for. And I've found this time and time again when there's especially with a catastrophic injury, get your person out, or as a lawyer, I go out myself and get out there right away, take measurements, take video, get photos, look and see what did this motorcycle leave behind when it fell down. There will be oil slicks. When a motorcyclist goes down, liquids spill. And that's usually where the bike has come to rest. There will be blood, often. And the blood is often not where the liquid from the motorcycle spilled. That will probably show that the motorcyclist has separated from the bike. Then you need to show, did they separate further than where the motorcycle was, less far, and you can try to reconstruct your collision by using simple evidence that you discover at the scene. But you got to get out there and you got to know what to look for. Sometimes the motorcyclist will slide down the road and hit the opposite embankment. Look for evidence. What's dislodged? What kind of gravel was on the roadway? Was there a construction site and maybe they just didn't clean up the road? Maybe that wasn't dangerous for cars, but maybe it was very dangerous for this motorcyclist, and that's what caused them to go down. I'm sorry, I can go on about this stuff because we've handled so many motorcycle cases and run into so many scenarios that you learn something new every time.
Well, and clearly you're passionate about it. You kind of touched on this earlier, but as a motorcycle rider yourself, how does your personal experience and also your passion for riding inform your approach to how you represent bikers, and also how does it benefit your clients?
Well, first of all, you have to understand we are very pro biker. That doesn't mean they can do no wrong, but it means when other people are accusing them of doing wrong, my partner George and I, we really know if the motorcyclist has been making mistakes, if they have been riding negligently, if they are a primary collision factor, or if somebody else is. So our lifelong passion and interest in riding motorcycles, in working on motorcycles, in going to motorcycle races and going to motorcycle shows like we just did 2 weeks ago, um, these interests all help us to represent our motorcycle clients because we want them to win, and they do win with us on their side. Many people just don't know what to look for. A motorcycle crash is so different than a car crash. So different. And you really have to know how motorcycles turn, stop, accelerate, and crash. How do they fall? How do they tumble? How do they slide? If you're not thinking about these things, you're not doing a good job for your motorcycle clients. We think about this in the first telephone call we get from a client or from somebody in the client's family who's trying to help them get a lawyer.
So, Claude, let's talk about damages. What types of damages can somebody who's been in a motorcycle accident expect to recover through either insurance claims or a personal injury lawsuit?
Well, in California, you get compensatory damages, and compensatory damages usually consist of past medical expenses, future medical expenses that are likely to be needed, past wage loss, future wage loss or income loss that is likely to be incurred because somebody has been disabled, and then past pain and suffering damages and future pain and suffering damages. This is the same for all personal injury cases. However, you really have to know what you're looking for with motorcyclists. Although in California we have helmet laws, uh, we have a lot of brain injury clients, and brain injury cases are a specialty in and of themselves. So not only are we motorcycle crash lawyers and specialists, we're brain injury specialists. Most motorcycle crashes involve a fracture of some sort. We know most types of fractures, what kind of care they're going to need, what is the future going to look like probably for a motorcyclist of a certain age. Will they be able to do their job? I always ask every time, what are you doing for a living? And, do you need to use that hand? I just was retained by a gentleman whose injuries you might argue were not catastrophic, except he's a computer programmer and he broke 4 bones in his hand and he had to have surgery. So it's going to hurt him probably for the rest of his life as he types away at his keyboard. Now, he'll look normal and he'll be able to do most things and he will go back to work, but he's not going to enjoy it the way he did before, and he may not be as fast as he was before. And you've got to really be able to tease out what each element of damage is going to be for your injured motorcyclist.
And do most of these cases go to trial, or do they actually end up settling out of court?
The majority of cases in California actually settle before trial. But if you think you're going to get the best settlement by getting ready for settlement, you got another thing coming. You get the best settlement and the best result for your client by preparing for trial, doing the hard work, hiring the experts, really just getting it ready so that it's going to be presented in the way that you're going to present it at trial. And when the insurance companies and the defendants see that you're taking it that seriously and you're getting ready for trial, they know they have to pay you the right value. If they see you're just trying to get ready for an easy settlement, to pick the low-hanging fruit, if they see that, that's the kind of money you're going to get. Many, many lawyers just don't want to put the extra work into the case. We always do. We are more selective in the cases that we take because we won't take a case unless we plan on at least getting it ready for trial, if not trying the case. That doesn't mean that most of the cases go to trial. You don't have to go to trial. It's always the client's choice if they want to take a settlement. But if we get it ready for trial, you're going to get a better settlement.
Well, we are certainly getting to that time of year where there's lots of bikers out on the roads. Thank you so much for the information, and nice to see you today.
Great to see you too, Molly. And thank you for checking in with me. I always love speaking about motorcycle cases and motorcycle riding. And if you come out to California, we'll take you to the track.
Sounds good. And that's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Claude Wyle. If you'd like to ask him about your situation, call the number on the screen. Thanks for watching. I'm Molly Hendrickson for Ask the Lawyers.